largely in response to what I deem to be the irresponsible and unprofessional criticism that was levied on Vladimir Putin and everybody else about the tragedy that took place at, I think it's Mavica is the name of the town, the school number 19, a vocational school that was used by the Russians to billet around 400 soldiers, plus or minus, people from a communications unit, people from a special forces unit, and a lot of people from an artillery unit coming from a training ground, recently mobilized people. Tragic. I mean, all death is tragic, but these guys were mobilized. They were sent. They hadn't had a chance to get integrated in the units. They were waiting. It was New Year's, and boom, they got killed by a HIMARS attack. We don't know the death toll yet. The Russians initially announced 63. Since then, they've upped it to 89. My guess is that number will go up as debris is removed and bodies are discovered, but I don't know. But the very first thing that happened when this attack happened with these bloggers is they started repeating Ukrainian propaganda straight off the bat. Boom. And that tells you where they're coming from. These people pretend to be pro-Russian, but they're not. They do nothing more than put forward Ukrainian propaganda, the talking points, the narrative of the Ukrainian intelligence service working with the CIA. I'm on to you guys. I know what you're up to. And when they go, 600 dead. It's like, no, not 400 dead. Not 200 dead. Not yet. I mean, I can't guarantee there won't be 200 dead eventually. No, but they're shouting out now. The first thing is Putin is a loser, a disgrace. He's disgusting. Shoigu should be shot. The poor spokesperson of the Russian military who has to deliver the news, he should be gutted and hung by the neck by his entrails. He's a horrible human being. His family should be slaughtered, gutted, fed to pigs. Literally, this is what they're saying. And they're not addressing the issue. I mean, there are two aspects to what happened there. The first one is, how did it happen? And this is a fair point of inquiry. And had they limited their discussion to this and asked these questions in a professional manner, I'd be all on their side. Why in God's name did the Russian leadership put so many people into a single place, a known place, so close to the front lines? I mean, you're literally setting it up for the Ukrainians. It's like putting the ball on the tee and letting, Babe Ruth come up and he's just going to knock it out of the park every time. You put that many people in the in the building, there's some talk. The Russians are saying, Russian government saying that it was done by cell phones, that everybody's using the cell phone, calling home. It was New Year's Eve. I'm sure people are calling home, hey, mom, selfie, and of course, cell phones can be hacked into. You get the GPS notification, the signals can be intercepted, and you can triangulate. There's any number of ways to figure out exactly where the cell phone is coming from. But and here's the other thing. They're not supposed to have cell phones. Rule number one, when you enter the combat zone, the cell phones are supposed to be collected by the leadership and removed, taken away, so that you don't have this kind of thing happening. Sort of what we do in the military. Fitbit is a big deal. And people were running around with their Fitbits, all these really fit special forces guy who should know better. And all of a sudden, people are looking up on the map. People are, because you can download the Fitbit onto a computer and it shows you where you run and all this GPS map. And their path gives them the exact perimeter of all these top secret bases all around the world. And basically, Fitbit is disclosing everything where people are deployed and all this stuff. And the military finally had to say, no more Fitbits. You can't do that. You're broadcasting stuff. The same thing with various social media apps and everything. You have people on aircraft carriers who are posting stuff, and it's giving away the position of the aircraft carrier, maybe potentially tipping off adversaries about upcoming operations, etc. So, the U.S. has a problem with it too. I think every military in the world has a problem with this. So for these Russian bloggers to pretend that this is a unique problem to Russia and their leadership sucks because, oh my God, these people did it. You guys are fools. You're idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. So just shut up because you're not trying to solve the problem. I mean, it's a fair question to ask. But, the other big question is that the Ukrainians would have known this anyways, because I can guarantee you the United States has multiple satellites flying over day and night tracking all of these places, tracking the movement of people. And we know the United States prepares reports on movement, unit locations, etc., and they provide them to the Ukrainians. And Ukrainians will see a report that says, this unit has moved into school 19. This unit moved into school 19. They'll look at a photograph that shows vehicles all there, people lined up. People get off of buses, photograph takes buses, whatever. So the Ukrainians would have known this anyways. So it doesn't matter about cell phones. It doesn't matter about anything. The bottom line is they should never have been in that building. You disperse your assets. If you need to keep 200 men together like that, then keep them together in the rear, out of range. But when you bring them into a forward area, they need to be broken up into component, units, smaller units, and dispersed. And when they disperse tactically, that means that you maybe have, 2 guys in a hole here, 5 guys in a hut here, spread it out so that if the HIMARS comes in, it's only going to kill, 10 people, which is a lot if you're one of those 10 people, but it ain't 89. But they didn't do that. And this is a fair question for the leadership to ask. Other things that have been brought up is the potential that some people may have raised this issue to the Russian command prior, saying, hey, we're very vulnerable here. What are we going to do about it? And the command didn't react. Shame on the command. And again, this is the kind of thing that people should investigate. But again, to pretend that this is unique to Russia and that somehow we have to gut somebody and hang him by the neck by his entrails, it's just foolish. One only has to remember when the Marines went to Beirut, and I'm picking on the Marines right now, and I'm a Marine, and I'll kill you if you criticize the Marine Corps, but I'm going to tell you what happened. We went to Beirut, and we put every Marine into the damn, Beirut barracks. And then the rules of engagement were such that we couldn't have a tow missile loaded up in the tow launcher. We couldn't have magazines inserted in the M16s. And so a suicide vehicle was able to approach and close with, penetrate, blow up, and kill 241 Marines and sailors and soldiers. 241. This is a bad day. But it doesn't mean that the entire Marine Corps is corrupt, that the leadership sucks, because those same Marines there will turn around and kick the ass of anybody in the world in a stand-up fight, including you, Strelkov. Remember that. You ain't a Marine. So, this concept of criticism. But then the other point, so once we get past that, and, Putin has formed this commission. This commission is going to investigate, and hopefully some answers come out of that investigation. If Russia's like any other nation in the world, this will be political in nature. They'll try and sweep some things under the rug. Other things will be exposed. That's just the way it works. It's not right. It's wrong. We do it. The Brits do it. Everybody does it. And hopefully Putin won't allow it to happen, but it may happen. But the bigger issue is, and people bring this up, why aren't the Russians interdicting the HIMARS? How did that system fire? You are incompetent. Clearly, I, Strelkov, the genius from wherever he's from, I would have had the solution. I would have been able to stop the HIMARS. I would have done the right thing. I would have called in air support. I would have done this because I am God. You're not. History shows that mobile relocatable targets are the most difficult things in the world to hit. And people that are 400 times more experienced than Strelkov and his ilk have been trying to do this for years. Go back to World War II, Operation Crossbow, the operation led by the British with American assistance to destroy V-1 and V-2 rockets before they could be launched. It was the number one priority of the British Air Force, the number one priority. That means it's number one. It ain't number 2, number 3, number 4. Number one. They allocated 40% of the British heavy bomber resources to do this. They didn't treat it lightly. And it didn't succeed. Are you telling me that the British are incompetent? They don't know what they're doing? Or maybe it's just a tough problem set. The only way the V-1 and V-2 rockets stopped firing is when the British military defeated the Nazis, advanced, and took the last remaining launchers. Gosh, the Gulf War. Bing, 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 bing. That's my war. That's the one that I fought in. That's the one where I was heavily involved in the counter-Scud operation. Those Iraqi mobile missiles that are a derivative of the V-2 rocket, put on an 8-wheel vehicle with a launch arm. Gosh, it was a big deal because Israel said if we get hit by one missile, we're coming into the conflict. And if Israel entered the conflict, the whole coalition would fall apart. Iraq wins. So we're not talking about an insignificant consequence here. We had to stop those missiles from launching. And we did everything we could. 2,500 sorties, including F-15E Strike Eagles with the most modern equipment. A-10s flying in low. We brought in Delta Force. Hey, Strokoff, they'll kick your ass too. British SAS, yeah, they got you too, Strokoff. These are really professional people here, and they were in there. They were trying. Not a single Scud was killed. Not a single Scud was killed. And guess what else we did? We deployed Patriot batteries all over the place. We sent them to Israel. We deployed them all throughout the Arabian Peninsula. And you know how many missiles they actually successfully intercepted? Oh, 0. These are good people, professional people. This is just a tough target, a very tough target. So now we come to Russia and what I call the counter HIMARS campaign. Someday a book will be written about it because this is a critical aspect of this war. A war which, by the way, Strokoff, Russia's going to win. Your negativity isn't going to stop this. But it's a difficult campaign. We won the Operation Desert Storm, but we didn't kill a single Scud. We won World War II with the help of the Soviets, but we didn't stop the V1 and V2 rockets from flying. And Russia's going to win this war, even though I'm telling you right now, they will never stop the HIMARS rockets from being launched because it's a hard target. One of the things we dealt with in the Gulf War were decoys. I mean, the thing that got me involved was when I started to ask questions like, there are 19 Iraqi mobile missile launchers, and yet on week 2, the U.S. Air Force has claimed to have killed 75 mobile missile launchers. Simple Marine math. Doesn't work. We're killing something obvious that isn't a mobile missile launcher, and the fact that the Iraqis continue to launch mobile missiles means we ain't killing what we're supposed to be killing. Why? And what we found out is a number of things: effective camouflage, concealment, and the use of decoys. We now know that the Ukrainians are using decoy HIMARS that are being put out in a way assisted by the United States in terms of placement regarding Soviet or Russian collection capabilities. The Russians are collecting it, determining that's a target, firing their caliber missiles and sending their drones in, and they're killing things they think are HIMARS. This is why the Russians are saying, we got 3 HIMARS yesterday. And of course, the Russian bloggers, they don't know what they're talking about. They're making it up. They're liars. No, they're not. They're professionals who think they actually killed something, but they're killing a decoy. Strokoff, if you were an intelligence officer and you actually track this kind of stuff, you might know what you're talking about, but you don't. So, this is the problem. And the bottom line is, as long as the Ukrainians have this very difficult to target weapon, and that weapon is employed using information from the United States, because one of the important aspects of this conflict is that the United States is telling the Ukrainians when the window of vulnerability is open and closed regarding Russian satellites and other Russian collection assets. So they're getting a little book that says, red light, green light. Green light means go to where we tell you to go. Red light means stop, hide, duck, cover, because they're looking for you. And we're cueing the HIMARS. We're moving it when the Russians can't see it, or at least we hope they can't see it. So the Ukrainians are getting a lot of help in this. And it's just a hard target. And the bottom line is the HIMARS is going to be a weapon up until the day Russia wins the war. The HIMARS will stop firing when Russia captures the last resisting Ukrainian unit. And that's just the way it's going to be.